Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Derek Ferguson. I'm head of engineering for JP Morgan Chase's commercial bank. And as was mentioned, today I'm here to talk about Kubeflow user experience. One thing I did get slightly wrong on the slide, a little embarrassing. I'm actually at Chicago Derek Dev, not at Chicago Dev Derek, so don't go looking for that. If I don't respond, it's not because I'm not responding, it's just I got that wrong. So this is really about, once somebody, in this case me, looks at Kubeflow and becomes really excited about it and wants to go ahead and bring it in and start using it in their organization. What if that person is in an organization which is massive and highly regulated? What are some of the pros, cons, and all that sort of stuff and challenges faced? And I sort of want to run you through those really quickly. So the project where we're using this is something called City Scholars. Quick intro to that to begin with. So this is a partnership between JP Morgan Chase, University of Illinois, and the City of Chicago. Concept really being that University of Illinois, one of the top 10 schools of computer science in the country, want to make City of Chicago sort of an appealing destination for them post-graduation, and obviously selfishly also make JP Morgan Chase an appealing destination. The program is that the students should work half-time during the spring, then study the other half-time, and then once they get to summer, they become full-time interns with us. So the remits for this were twofold. One, build some great machine learning models for Chase's commercial bank. We've got a fairly long history in that, lots of successful machine learning models already in production. But also to fundamentally advance the DevOps side of machine learning for the industry as a whole, because as we've looked at our track record creating machine learning models, don't need to tell many people in this room, you can get lots of models that are created, but trying to get those the rest of the way into production, get the right monitoring, the right maintenance, all that sort of stuff around it, that can be the tricky piece. So thus our interest in Kubeflow and wanting to bring that in-house. And as we sort of started looking to it, I tried to categorize some of the challenges that we're going through and hoping to contribute and coming to resolutions against into three basic areas. One, some technologies are on our roadmap, but we're not necessarily there necessarily. So, Kubernetes, obviously something that we're very bought into, but it's a little bit, early days for us still. So we're building out our infrastructure there. Languages like Go, just, it is on our roadmap, but we're still in our infancy with that. So those are, sort of the trivial, sort of learning curve things. Then you get into what I can only refer to as sort of procedural oddness, the sort of thing that you would get in any sort of Fortune 100 or in our case, Fortune 20 company. Approving Docker images for use. So, we've got lots of policies and procedures for bringing in things like jars off of Maven or bits of JavaScript off of NPM or what have you. Trying to bring in like a Docker image, this is a new process for us. And actually just today I've been having a conversation. If you go on the Slack for Kubeflow, you'll see I have a message out there saying, hey, we tried to bring something in. It got stuck in some of our scanning. What can we do about this? So that's a little bit new for us. Outbound contribution model exists. Many of you have probably seen the announcements in the news over the past couple of weeks about our foray into cyber currency and some interesting stuff we're doing there. That's all done through this open source project called Quorum. But for the organizations at Chase who haven't done stuff with open source yet, that's a process that we need to work out. How do you contribute back intellectual property without, getting in trouble and all that sort of stuff. And then the collaboration model, we're a regulated organization. All of our communications in and out are supposed to be recorded. Things like Slack, personal emails, Google Docs. Imagine trying to work on Kubeflow, not being able to get to Slack or Google Docs. That's a challenge in and of itself. So that's all stuff that we're working through. And then there's stuff that, just really sort of isn't on our roadmap, like, developer desktops being Ubuntu or Mac OS. We've really got Windows developer desktops. It will probably stay that way. So we need to figure out other ways to sort of do our development work when it's a platform like this. And then on all these slides, I've tried to put in bold red the pieces where, we think, we have commonality with other folks. Installers grabbing bits directly from the internet. This gets into the whole on-prem model. And, if you've got an installer and it's going on, it's trying to grab down this bit of code or this bit of Docker image that hasn't gone through scanning yet, that's something that needs to be worked through. And then we have a few projected challenges. As I think was mentioned in a previous slide by the folks from LinkedIn, most large organizations, you already have this ecosystem. You have to fit into that existing ecosystem, right? In our case, we have a lot of life cycle tools that say if you're going to push something to production, you have to use this tool to drop it out there, whether it's Spinnaker or whatever, so that all the right logging gets done for audit purposes. So we have to do some of those integrations. Network policies in our clusters, typically very restrictive by default, have to figure out ways to open those up as a part of deployments. The whole case on it thing is, probably something we're gonna have to contribute to. And then persistent volumes. We love Kubeflow support for persistent volumes, but in our case, when you put stuff out on persistent storage, it needs to be logged and locked down in some ways that are sort of, special to the Fortune 20, I think. So having said that, the good news is, we have a team sort of dedicated to this, looking to help work with you, contributing to Kubeflow, making some of these things better. That was just the list of the areas where we see we need to focus. So once again, at Chicago, Derek Dev, not at Chicago Dev Derek. Definitely please be in touch. Thank you.